All right, in this short demo, we're going to show you how to convert Kaggle's JPX Tokyo Stock Exchange prediction competition into a Kubeflow pipeline using the KFP SDK. All right, let's get into it. Now, the first thing to do, if you haven't already done so, is to head on over to Kaggle.com, click on your account, and make sure that if you haven't already, generate an API key. And what this is going to do is it's going to generate a Kaggle.json file locally. You want to grab the username as well as the API key, as we are going to need it when we create our Kubernetes secret. All right, so now back in the Kubeflow UI in the notebooks section, we've already got a simple notebook set up with the default configurations. We're going to go ahead and connect to it. And once we're connected to it, we're going to open up a terminal from the launcher. And in the terminal, we're going to want to create our Kubernetes secret, and you can see the command there is going to require our Kaggle username as well as API key. And once that secret's been created, we need to actually set a pod default. We're going to do that using the Kaggle_pod YAML file. You can see the contents there. So let's go ahead and create that resource by using Kaggle apply. And when that's done, we are ready to move on to the next step. And that next step is going to involve setting up the notebook server for our Kaggle competition. So let's go ahead and name our notebook server. In this case, we'll just call it JPX KFP. And we want to bump up the resources to 3 CPUs as well as 3 gigs of RAM. And we can leave the storage as is. And we do want to check the Kaggle secret configuration option. So once the notebook server is actually up and running, let's go ahead and connect to it. And once we're connected to it, we're going to now want to open up a terminal. And from here, we're going to want to git clone the Kubeflow/examples repo. And when that's done, then the next thing to do is to navigate to the JPX directory. And once we're in that directory, we want to then locate the KFP notebook. And so let's go ahead and open that up. So from here, we've got a few things to do before we run the pipeline. First, let's do a pip install and upgrade pip. So let's go ahead and run that. Once it's completed, let's go ahead and install the KFP SDK, run that. And once it successfully runs, we're going to want to restart our kernel. And with our kernel restarted, we're ready to move on to our imports. And here we're going to want to import a variety of different components. So let's go ahead and bring those in. So first up, we want to create our load data step. So let's go ahead and run that. Next up, we need to transform our data. So let's go ahead and run the code that's going to create that function. Our third step is going to be our feature engineering step. So let's go ahead and run the code to create that function. And then our next step is going to be our modeling step. So let's go ahead and run the modeling step. And that brings us to the evaluation and prediction step. So let's go ahead and run that code to create the function. Now we're ready to actually create the pipeline components from those previous functions that we saw. And let's go ahead and define the pipeline, create the client, set the arguments, and then we are ready to go ahead and run the pipeline. And with the pipeline running, we're going to have 2 hyperlinks here. Let's go ahead and click on Run Details. And by clicking on this hyperlink, it's going to bring us into the runtime execution graph, where in real time we'll see this pipeline execute. You can see our first step was to create a volume. We then moved into the load data step, the transform data step, feature engineering, modeling, and then we wrap things up with our prediction step. And you can see the run output there. And that's it. You've successfully created a Kubeflow pipeline using the KFP SDK for the Kaggle JPX Tokyo Stock Exchange prediction competition.